Okay, I'm going to try to make this the shortest video. Who are you? One of the things we'll be doing in this class is having a lot of different discussions, and it's kind of nice to have an idea of who the people are. So one of the things I've done is I've set up a discussion topic where I'd like you to go in and introduce yourself to the class. And I think I said this in another video, but when you do this, let us know something about yourself, maybe something that would surprise us or might be different or exciting about yourself. But remember not to put anything in there that you wouldn't want anybody to see. This is basically like getting up and speaking in public. So if there's something you don't want people to know, keep it to yourself, and that'll be fine. I've also created a practice test, which will be based on these introduction videos, and a practice assignment based on your learning styles. So important dates for the class. If you want to drop with refund, you have to do it before March 24th. If you want to drop without a W, you have to do it before April 5th. And if you want to drop with a W, you have to do it before May 6th. A W is a notation on your transcript that shows that you dropped the course before it was over. If you do it before April 5th, it won't show up on your transcript. If you do it after April 5th but before May 6th, you'll get a W on your transcript that shows that you withdrew from the course. It's not necessarily a really bad thing. You don't want to have a lot of W's on your transcript, but a W is a lot better than a failing grade. So if you need to drop the course, it's best to do it before May 6th. So let's talk a little bit about this course and how it's different. When I went to school, you came to your lecture and the professor spoke, and he was this oracle, he or she was this oracle of information, and you would sit and listen, and then if you needed to do research, you would go to the library and look up books, or maybe go to I think we used to have computers where we could get abstracts of journals. I think that's about all we could do pretty much. Now it's a lot different, and the information's out there. Now it's my hope through this class we'll come to a better understanding and ways that we see politics and human nature and why the American political system is set up the way it is. But one thing that's different now is there's probably nothing I'm going to say in this course that you couldn't find on Google in 5 minutes if you were looking for it. So the access to information is a lot different. So rather than being an oracle of information, I see myself as more of a facilitator in this course. I hope to lead the discussions and the class and guide us in certain areas, but you'll get as much out of this class as you put into it. Something about academia that really bothers me is its prejudice towards certain learning styles. A few decades ago, someone named Howard Gardner came up with different ways we like to learn. You can see on this page there are a couple of columns, and they're different learning styles. The first column is linguistic, logical, and mathematic, and that is what academia likes. And most teachers tend to fall into preferences to those styles because if you're a teacher or an instructor or a professor, you probably like school, and if you like school, you learned in the style that academia likes. The unfortunate part of this problem is that most of us are musical, kinesthetic, spatial. There's also visual and auditory learners. Most of us fall into that category of preference for learning style. So I'd just like to let you know that, and as you take your learning style assessment, I hope you really look at what it says about how you like to learn. Like I said, most of us are kinesthetic, meaning physically. We like to touch, we like to move when we learn. Most of us are visual. We like to see things or hear things, auditory. It's good to know what are your preferences to learning styles, but it's also important to know that you need to work towards knowing linguistic, logical, and mathematic learning styles a little bit better, because as you continue in school, you're going to have to use these. So how do we know what we know? This is an important question. And most of what we know comes from family, school, friends, TV. And actually, this list of information here of different types of groups for learning is kind of in order. Most of us learn what we know from our family, then school, then friends, then TV, and so forth. Different groups have different ideas. I taught a class at a prison one time, And in that class, when we talked about how do we know what we know, most of them said TV is what they learned from, because either one or both of their parents weren't around, and when they were home, they watched TV and they got their values and information from the TV. But generally, most people in contemporary American society begin to know what you know and frame contexts for learning within your family. And then at school, school has an extraordinarily powerful context in how you know what you know, and not just in terms of information, but actually in terms of values and ethics and morality. I believe many of your teachers, instructors, and professors will be biased in certain ways, and I believe that most students are inundated with agendas and ideologies from schools, and most of us believe what we believe because of this inundation, and we don't even know it. A lot of people today actually learn from comedy. Jon Stewart from The Daily Show, there's a News Busted website that has a little kind of news segment that's comedy, kind of like Jon Stewart. Saturday Night Live has a lot of sketches on politics. These are, I think, so many times so very funny, but I think they can be extraordinarily dangerous for people who don't know the real facts and how things are. It's okay to laugh at something, whether you agree with it or not, but I think it's very dangerous when you don't know what things are and you're getting your information actually from these types of things. So this is really important to me. I am a political scientist, and I tend to gravitate toward the philosophical spectrum of the science. And what's really important that we come to an understanding, a better understanding of in this class, is our own worldview. And this comes from epistemology. And epistemology is the branch of philosophy that deals with how do we know what we know. And you can see on this slide here, there are a few different items. There's opinion, ideology, philosophy, religion, traditions, and worldview. What I hope to explain to you here is that everybody has an opinion. An opinion is kind of, usually it's our inductive reasoning. We think of something and we come to an opinion on it. Ideology is a little bit more than that. Ideology is when you kind of think and come to kind of processes and conclusions based on a little bit of thought. And we'll talk about ideologies in this course. Philosophy is a little bit different than that, even more in depth and involved, where you go through the application of wrestling with issues such as morality and ethics and things like that. And then there's, even on the same level, or maybe even a deeper level, there are our religious beliefs and our traditions, the things that we understand because of the beliefs of important questions like, is there a God? And if there is a God, what is it? And the traditions that we follow in our cultures and our different groupings. There are major traditions that we follow that sometimes we follow for simply the reason of tradition, and sometimes we question those things and try to understand them more. But at the deepest level here is our worldview. And the worldview is the basis of your understanding of the important questions. And the way you interpret that will interpret all these other things. And what I mean by that is the facts don't speak for themselves. When we view something, when we watch a news story on television, when we learn about something, we interpret the facts in context to our worldview. So we can see the same thing, but we perceive it differently because we each have a little bit of a different worldview, which is based on our religions, our beliefs, our traditions, our philosophies, our ideologies, which influence, obviously, our opinion. What I hope to do in this class is do what a lot of people don't do. And this is the important thing, and this is what I talk about being intellectually lazy. A lot of time we stay on the realm of opinion, maybe a little bit of ideology. It's much more difficult to think philosophically or about religion or traditions or histories and get into our worldview. What I've found, and which is interesting to me, is most people haven't thought about or have very little idea of what their worldview is. And if you don't know what your worldview is, you don't know how or why you judge things in context of the way you do. So throughout this class, it would be my goal to hope that you begin to question these things. If you have, that's great. Continue to do it. And if you haven't, I hope you start to look at these things and at least understand why you feel or believe the way you do.